So, heroes and villains. I think I predicted like 3 of the things that happened so far this season, so we're not really going to get into anything like that. And I do really want to talk about is this buildup that we have towards villains and villains not getting any happy endings. In our 4 main power couples, true love couples, whatever you call them, 3 of them have a villain or a former villain or an in-between villain as one of the halves of the couple, and each one of them has said something along the lines of villains don't get happy endings. I want to make the argument that none of our villains are getting their happy endings right now, and I do include Killian within all of this, and you all know me at this point, and that he is my actual child, and that I will defend him until my dying breath, but he is still a villain, and just let me explain myself. Happy endings, as defined in the show, are that you and your true love are together and that nothing else bad happens to you ever again. Or if something does happen to you that is bad, then you can overcome it together because together you are stronger than you are apart. And we have seen that true love is fairly broadly defined because we've seen parent and child, we have seen siblings, we have seen friendship, and we have also seen romantic partner true love. As long as you are together, you can overcome anything. Villains operate alone. That's their whole thing. They might not have started out operating alone, or really as villains, but every single one of them has been mistreated in some way by person or circumstance, and that causes them to withdraw into themselves. And this is fueled, interestingly enough, by a kind of love. Either love for somebody else, the desire to be loved, or the love for oneself. And it is that love, plus the fact that once the villains start to open up and allow people back in, that sets them on the track to redemption. At the moment, 2 of our villains are on track for redemption. The 3rd one was, but he jumped ship when he tried to find a loophole. He is kind of hit rock bottom right now, so maybe he will get back on the train to go to Redemption Town, but it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. But Regina and Killian, why aren't they getting their happy endings? What is prohibiting this from happening? Because if they are on track for redemption, doesn't that mean that they're not villains anymore and that they get their happy endings now? Well, yes and no. Because Lord knows that while the road to true love is not all sunshine and rainbows, we also know that the happy endings are also kind of complicated because not only does it involve you, but it involves another person. So 2 people are messy and complicated and life happens. But this kind of ending is even more complicated because now we have the rules of fate and destiny also in play. So if good equals happy endings and evil does not, how does the heel face turn that all 3 of these characters performed hinder this chance at redemption? Weakness mostly. Rumpel's weakness lies in the fact that he has a lust for power that is really desperate to overcome his cowardice. He hides behind his magic and overconfidence to the point where he alienates his true love because he wants everything so much. He is terrified of being alone without love that instead of embracing what he is given, which is not being alone and possibly not being terrified, he tries to have his cake and eat it too. There were points when he genuinely could have been freed of the curse of the Dark One, but then his cowardice took over and he doesn't really realize what he is losing by trying to just hold on so tightly to his power. He genuinely could have everything that he ever wanted if he just gives up his power. He could have love, a family, even money. I mean, he still owns half the town, so really Rumpelstiltskin has the most to gain by giving up his villainy. But he still clings to it because he is blinded by his fears. Not his fears of his cowardice in the long run, but his fears of the unknown of what could happen if he doesn't have his power. Regina's weakness has always been her desire for love, and because she has not been given love in its purest and fullest form, she is starving for it. She has gone about just about every way possible to try and gain this love, but usually they're in alienating and terrible ways. So you can see how in a life that she leads now, where she is being given the opportunity to have all of this love that she wants, but also she's being denied it in other ways, she's being pulled in 2 directions. And because she's only been recently minted on the side of good, it's not gonna take too much than the right kind of suggestions and the right way to set her back on the path to darkness. Highlighting this is the conversation that Rumpel and Regina had in the car in Heroes and Villains. Rumpel is laying out all of the reasons why Regina should just take what she wants and damn everybody to hell. It's what he's doing. But carelessness of lives and how that affects other people, it's the way of a villain, and that's something that Regina has realized that she doesn't really want anymore, so she rejects it. She wants love, but to get it, she also realizes that she needs to play by the rules. to a point. Because she does realize that sometimes you need to take fate in your own hands to rewrite it because, well, JRPGs aren't the only stories that you can defeat God with the power of friendship. There have been some questionable circumstances that have led to finding your true love, let alone keeping it, but none of these have been by using outright trickery, and Regina, as well as Killian, are realizing this. Methinks the show writers are leaning heavily on that cheesy adage of, if you love something, let it go, if it's meant to be, it'll come back to you. I mean, that's basically how Snowing has worked so far, and we have seen a lot of parallels between Season 1 Snowing and Season 4 Outlaw Queen. Perhaps playing with fate isn't the best of ideas, but it's kind of the only one that Regina's got right now, especially if she wants to stay on the side of good while also bending the rules a little bit. And perhaps that bending of the rules is the reason why she's not going to be able to get her happy ending for a little while. At least until she talks to the author and says, hey, things are not as cut as dry as this, everybody deserves to be happy, and only a terrible person is going to wish somebody to not be happy. Which leads me to Killian, and his weakness is also love, not only desiring it, but his love for others. Killian is interesting because his fall to villainy is a combination of both of the reasons that Regina and Rumpel had. Desiring love with Mila and with Daniel, but also love for others in Liam and Balefire. He has gotten a lot of flack for being the villain furthest along on the road to a happy ending, especially when he hasn't made any reparations for the acts of villainy that he has committed while on the show. But while he and Emma have been taking those first steps into a relationship, it's not without any roadblocks. And not just because Emma is the savior and always needs to go be saving things. Killian's overconfidence is what put him in the mess at the beginning of the season. Instead of taking the knowledge that he had and, I don't know, telling it to the Scooby Gang, like, hey, Rumpelstiltskin is kind of probably still evil, so maybe we should do something about it. He kept the knowledge to himself and used it as blackmail. And then he used it as further blackmail that then turned around and revealed to him that he still does have darkness in him when he'd been going around and boasting about how he's on the side of good and he's not a villain anymore. And then it bit him in the ass and it almost cost him his life. Might I suggest that you read the story of Icarus Killian before you go any further? Not to mention that, yes, you're right, he hasn't made any reparations for the villainy that he has committed so far. I mean, Belle, 3 times he has harmed Belle, and she had every reason not to save his life this past week, but she did because she's a hero and that's what she does. I mean, Aurora must run screaming in the streets if she ever sees him. Snow at least admitted that she didn't feel sorry for killing Cora, but she still apologized for it, so yes, Killian still is very much a villain, but not because of what he did under Rumpelstiltskin's control. It's from his own actions and his own overconfidence, and until he makes reparations, there's a reason why Captain Swan is not going to be making tacos or coffee anytime soon. And maybe this near-death experience might teach him that he probably should do something about that, especially to Belle, because seriously, she had every reason in the world not to save his life except for the fact that it would hurt Emma, and Emma is her friend. So villains don't get happy endings, but redemption leads to it. We have 2 villains who are on that path. They're opening up to people, letting them in, and realizing, hey, maybe I shouldn't be a dick anymore, and that'll lead to my happy ending. They're desperately trying to figure out how to be heroes and how to get their happy endings and how to be not who they were in the past. And then we have one villain who just needs to be bashed in the head until he gets it. Maybe that's what needs to be happening. True love's TKO. So what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.